Hey adventurers, so today is going to be another book review. This is for To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is a very famous historical fiction. It's considered a classic by many people, and it's a very difficult book in many ways. It talks about and focuses on several very difficult themes at times. This is a book that I have needed to read for a very long time, and for whatever reason I didn't end up ever having to read it for school, and so it just kept getting pushed off, and finally I was like, okay, I just need to read this book so I can actually have read this book. For some reason I thought that I knew a little bit about what this book was about. I had been around when other people had been watching the movie, so I thought I knew a little bit of the story and stuff like that, but in reality, once I started reading the book, I realized that any conceptions that I might have had about what this book was about, what the story was about, were completely wrong. I genuinely had pretty much no idea what anything in this book was about, what it was going to happen, any of these things. So, like, even though I'd heard these random terms or I knew these few scenes, those scenes or whatever was not what the book was about. They just happened to be scenes in the book that tied into the rest of the story. Yes, absolutely, but I really didn't know anything about what this book was about, and so when I read it, I was completely blown away by the story. I didn't know what to expect going into it because I thought I knew what I was getting into, and then I didn't. That was really interesting to find out as I was reading through it, and seeing the story unfold in that way was really good for me. Like I mentioned, there are several moments and topics that are brought up that are hard to listen to or read, but they are necessary, and for the story that they were telling, it's very important to that story. It's important to remember our history as it was, not as we'd like it to be, and there was definitely some aspects of that in this book, but I also would never wish to forget or to change that history. But that was not all that the story was made up of. In fact, I would go so far as to say that wasn't the focus of the story. Yes, it was absolutely there, and yes, it was a major part of this story, but the story was about a girl growing up. I think it covers about 3 years of a girl's life, Scout's life, and it's about the things she had to face, the trials she went through, the things that were happening around her, whether she fully understood them or not, and as an adult looking back on her life, seeing what those things meant and why at the time she didn't understand them, but now she understands what they meant and all that type of thing. And that was a very cool thing for me to see, and the way it was written was just really well done. I do wish that I hadn't waited as long to read this book as I had, but with that, I don't know that I would have fully appreciated as much as I did if I would have read it earlier. I've always enjoyed studying history, and so I would have understood a little bit and understood quite a bit about what was going on and just some of the things that were happening and what they meant, but there's definitely some things that I think would have gone over my head if I would have read it earlier in life. And so because of that, I'm glad that my first experience with this was, first off, was with the book, and second off was as an adult who has learned some things and seen some things now. I actually know a little bit more than I would have if I would have read this in high school. So I think I'm happy that I am now able to read it and understand it so well. I absolutely understand why it's so well beloved and why so many people consider it a classic or consider it to be one of the greatest books ever written. There are some issues, and I can understand why people would dislike this book as well, but for me I really enjoyed the book, and I thought it was a very good story. I thought it told a very good story, as well as weaving in these themes that so often is done so poorly. People try to bring in all these political agendas or political themes, and nothing ruins a story faster than putting the politics into the story because you want to put the politics into the story. When they fit the story, when they are there for a specific reason to help tell a portion of the story, not to be the story itself. And again, there's different types of stories, stuff like that, but generally, I don't want to see political agendas in my stories. I'd rather just have a good story. And that's what this was, as well as it having some of these other deeper themes that were going on at the time that the book is set. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. I hope you enjoyed this review of To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I have not read the sequel yet. I don't know when I will get to that, but I would like to read it sometime, and we'll see what my thoughts are for that one. For this, I very much enjoyed it, and I'm very glad to have finally read it. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and we have our social medias linked in the description down below. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We will talk to you again soon.